Hi, hello, how are you, Amanda? Saint artist. We're going to talk about Saint Makeup. I want to talk about matte control. This is something that a lot of people differ on. I like a bit of a dewy finish, but I am oily, so I do cross that line to greasy, so I do use powders. I just recently updated, recently as in just now, my vanilla dust because my other ones were just looking a little worse for wear, okay? So I put some new ones in, but I'm going to show loose form and pressed form of powder. But I do think that it's not just the way we do things at the end that make a difference, especially when you're working with creams, but it's also the way you start. So with Saint, with most creams, all creams, they're going to be more pigmented than your traditional foundation, which is 18 to 20% pigmentation. So you do need to put more on. But creams, if you're using stick creams, it's about double that. So let's say 40%. Saint is double that. So it's 80%. And so using creams, it lives with your skin and it does give that skin like dewy finish, but that look genuinely just it is not for everyone, and that's okay. You can still use a good quality makeup and still have the finish that you're used to and that you like, but it doesn't have to be heavy and thick and chalky and all that. So I'm going to show you some of my tips and tricks on how to make it work. So we're going to dig in. I'm going to be using I've already done my color correcting, my Ride or Dies. I'm going to put a little bit of balm on my lips because they are chapped. I've been hanging out at the pool, and you'd think only swimming dries your skin out. I'm pretty sure just hanging out by a pool is a thing. My daughters do swim team, and so we're there about 4 days a week. So we're going to dig in. I'm going to be using my two favorites because I really think this fluffy end of this brush makes the difference. So we're going to go in first, and I'm going to be using my main highlight, which is Athens, and I'm just going to focus this on the bottom part of my face. Now, when you're used to having full coverage and you're using Seint Makeup, it's not going to be the same application. I just tap into it and it'll handle one lower cheek and my chin. I really don't need to dip in too far, and I just balance my skin out. We're really not adding layers of makeup to get the look we want. We just want to cover the stuff. And so you don't need to have pounds and pounds and pounds of it. You just need to make sure it's covered. Just enough to get it covered. So we're going to tap in, not swipe in. I like the consistency of the creams. I've used the sticks and I feel like they get a little slick, but it's a matter of preference. Use whatever cream you want, but just cover what you need. If you need more coverage on your cheek, grab some, add a little more. This is my rough cheek. Not rough, but it's my more discolored cheek, my more stuff on this side of my cheek. So I do put it just a little extra where I need it, but not all over. So I need a little more on the apples. That's where my acne scarring is. And then the rest, it's just nice and thin. I'm just canceling out my redness and evening out the skin tone. All right, the next color I'm going to go into is my contour. That is Cedar. Ever since they came out with Cedar, I was an indigo girl until I went dark, and it just doesn't work. Well, it pulls very red next to my dark hair. And Astoria just pulled dirty. It just didn't suit my tone, my skin tone. Insert Cedar. It's so good. And so I just focus this on the hairline, and then I bring it down just to add that dimension. And then this is foundational coverage. That's what's nice about using these creams. Even the stick creams, it is a foundational coverage, which you can't get with those powder contours. I'm going to switch to the small end, and I'm going to go into my brightening, and we're just going to go right here. I just swirl a big old dot on my forehead, and then I push it over my brows, and then I work it up and into that contour. And as they merge together, it just creates this really pretty balance of a main highlight. You don't need to put it all over. These work together, so when the dark meets the light, it's balance, it's dimension, and it's coverage. And it's thin and light and hydrating. And so if you're wanting to have more of a matte finish, you're going to want to go with the less is more. Because once you add powder onto your face, think of gravy. I say this all the time lately. Think of gravy because we just had Thanksgiving. So think of gravy. When you need to thicken it, you add starch, powder, flour, powder. So Bisquick, powder, whatever it is that you use. I mean, even with meatloaf, you add crackers, powder. I use oats, but it's kind of powder. And so you're using that to thicken something. So why wouldn't that happen with your makeup? So go light. I'm just adding a little brightening just to add a little pop of highlight, just a little sheen without it being shimmer. I prefer that. Not everybody does. You can add some shimmer to that area, but I like using a brightening. I am going to grab a little bit of both brightening and main And I'm going to get right here. It's probably because it's the one area I don't think I wash well enough. And so I get a little bit of breakouts right here under my jawline. So I'm just going to I put my main highlight, my brightening together because it needs to be lighter because my neck is lighter than my face. Now I'm going to go in with my bronzer and I'm just going to bridge my neck a little bit. Because it is different color. All right, now I'm going to go in. I'm going to stay with my contour. We're going to do the nose. I go in on the side, and I am going to go right here on the top side. If I go on the side, it's over here. I don't want to do that. I like to slim my nose and hide that I have a little bit of a bump. I push that into my brow. And I will have a picture at the end showing my final look with my brows and my eyes all done. We don't need to see all that. We're talking about matte coverage. Nobody needs to see eyeshadow for that. I'm going to just tap this over on the side. This is so pigmented. You need just so little. So little. And I just tap it out. You want to focus the tone of the shadow where your shadows are. And then I bring mine up and over. Very thin. Going in with a little brightening. And I'm going to go from the middle of my brows down the middle of my nose. And I need a little more to go with on that one. And then I use my finger just to tap it out. It kind of smushes and widens it, but it marries it into the edges and gives a nice, natural, shadowy schnoz. That's a good looking schnoz. And you can't tell I have a bump. That's a good day. I'm going to add a little bit more. And I'm just going to go boop, boop, boop on the tip. I don't like the shimmer, the Rudolph shimmer. I just use my brightening. All right, next I'm going to get the hair in my mouth and out. All right, and then we're going to do our cheeks. So I'm going into my contour here. Now, the cheeks to me are where everybody really wants to be matte. It's this whole area. So remember, we're sticking with that less is more. And so I'm focusing a very minimal amount. Our cheek contour doesn't need to be punchy to be natural. So we're just going to use this. We're not coming in past that outer corner because we're wanting it more natural. But it's just to hook, it just gives it a little kick in the butt and says, get up, stop falling down, especially when you're 43 like me and nothing's all the way down. It's just moving. And it's not moving season. It's not. I'm fighting it with everything that I can, which is makeup and brushes. All right, so I've added my contour. Now, again, we're going with less is more, and you're keeping in mind that Seint is very pigmented. The nice thing is it's buildable in both directions. If you over apply, you just take a fluffy brush and there we go. You take a fluffy brush and you can blend it down. And if you feel like you need more, you can where you want it. And I like to wait to the end to do that because you never know if putting on too little at one point can look like too much at the end because you are adding as we go. So I'm going to go in right here. I'm going into my bronzer and we're just going to add a little glow, a little warmth to this cool, cold, wet winter. I'm just adding some bronzer. I've been really liking my bronzer as a blush and using a light bit of pink. I use Madrid. So I've been coming up, but then I've been smiling and bringing my bronzer more down. And I've been loving it. And I've been using my Frenchie instead of it working with my blush. I'm letting it be a part. It is my blush and I'm using my bronzer as blush as well. So I'm just going to take this here. All right, this is where things start to get a little bit different because I'm going to add my blush after I set. And this is because you can do this either way, but since I'm troubleshooting here and giving you different ideas, this is why we're going to do this. I'm going to do my under eyes. I am going to grab a different brush because less is more. Less is more. I got my mic and I'm loving it. Okay, we're going to go in. I'm going to use Sunlit, but I'm going to take the shape brush right here on the small end. Less is more. Now, if you are going to be baking, I'm going to bake just to show it. It's not something I do. It is something I did. The way I used to do my Seint makeup very much had isms of my traditional makeup. I had traditionalisms, and that was baking because I didn't want everything. It is what it is. So I'm going to take the small end, and I'm taking that. I'm going to smile so I can see this shine. We're going to work with it, and I'm going to bring it up, 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 and then the last thing I'm going to do is poke myself in the eye, and then we're going to bring this up and into that inner corner. I use Sunlit because I have darkness under my eyes, and I love the kick that the yellow undertone on Sunlit does for my skin. It's not for everyone. If you want to try it, try it. Remember, there's a 30-day return policy because, again, it's not for everyone, and it's really about the outcome of your makeup. It could work for you, but the overall look of it could not be for you. So smile, hitting. I say try all the things. You have that return policy. No, we don't like when you return things. It hurts our little wallets, but I say go for it. Try it, return it. I'll be fine. Instead of me, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, but try it this way just to get it. No, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Find something that does. With colors, and Sunlight is one of those colors where I'm like, if it's not working, go back. It's okay. All right, now we've gotten to this place. I've got my bronzer. I've got everything on, but I want a bit of that matte finish to help with my oily skin, but I still want a touch of that dewiness. So we're going to grab setting spray. I'm using Charlotte Tilbury or Urban Decay. I just grabbed this one. I like the smell of it, so I'm grabbing that one. If you have dry skin, matte is kind of just in your wheelhouse. And so I would just do, if you like that bit of dewiness, don't touch any powder and just grab that setting spray. If you want a more matte look, I would say go to Charlotte Tilbury or Urban Decay, because I think that our setting spray does add a bit of extra dewiness. So if you're wanting that matte finish, maybe not using Seint setting spray. So you're going to do this. If you are dry, you're going to spray your face with the setting spray, and you're going to take your brush and you're going to press it in. But for me, I'm going to go into my setting powder while my face is still damp, tap off some excess, and I'm going to start on the perimeter of my face. And I like a big, giant, fluffy brush for this. We're going to go up, over, and around, just like that. And this is going to give us that matte finish, and you're going to spray it again, and you're going to press it in again. And this helps marry everything together, and it gives you that matte finish that isn't, you see what I mean? This is the cream look. This is more of a matte hybrid. Matte hybrid. If you're wanting that with loose powder, I've got Laura Mercier here. I've been using this for events. Take that setting spray, spray it, grab your powder. That stuff really goes on. It's going to look like that, and tap it into your bristles. You want it to fall into the brush. Okay, we're going to go, and we're going to go on the perimeter. And I bring this down the jawline, and then the last place it's going to go is right here while your face is still damp. It's going to help with not having that powder texture that maybe you're trying to get away from. Spray again. I know it's like a process, but powder is powder. And if you want it to work well and not have that chalky look, there's things you've got to do. And so with that empty brush, just pat it back in. All right, let's talk about blush. I like to do my blush after my powder because I still want to, I want my oil controlled, but I like the dewiness of the blush. So I'm going to go into Frenchie because I'm pairing it with my bronzer. I'm going to go into Frenchie. It's my favorite because it's great as a blush, great as a lip, great as a tool for correcting. And I'm going to go to my cheeks. I'm going to go mid-cheek because I am going to use it on my apples for my scarring. And then I'm going to blend it into the contour, or not contour, the bronzer. And it's just, ooh, I'm getting used to this, but it's different, man. Going in mid-cheek. I also have a bit of, I had somebody tell me this, it was a doctor, and they told me this a long time ago, and I'm very hypersensitive to it. Like, this is why you don't point out people's things, because that's all they're going to see now. And so for the last, how old was I? Almost 20 years now, I've thought of this thing that this, I'm not even going to say it because I don't want you guys to even look at it. But anyways, boom. I think she was trying to get me to film my cheeks, and I was like, no Denise Richards face here. Like, all right. So I'm going to pop this in. I'm going to pop this up. There we go. And I like the peachiness with the bronzer. I think it's a really pretty neutral look for when I'm wanting to be neutral. All right. This is how I would finish my makeup. I'm going to do my lips, and then we're going to get into baking. I'm going to have to bake both sides because I like being even, Steven, and it's not going to be my best makeup day, because I don't like baking anymore. And again, makeup is a matter of preference, but to me as a Seint artist, as a hobbyist, I like to do the things to show you the things. And this is how I think it's the best way to bake. because you want that matte finish, but you don't want that powder fin. Does that make sense? I feel like there is a difference. And you will need a poof that you can get from Amazon. I like these. I like these more than I like the beauty blenders. If you're looking at beauty blenders, the e.l.f., this one is my favorite size. I think it does so, like, this is great for setting spray. This is great for just getting into, like, this is the perfect one. It's by e.l.f. and it's affordable. All right, we're going to do our lips. I got to finish my lips because I need to feel like a human. I'm going to take my multitasker brush. We're going to go in, what color? I'm going to do my Renaissance because, well, I'm not doing anything special with my lips. So I'm going to do what I like with my lips, and that's Renaissance. Popping Renaissance on. And I put it on pretty thick, like a thick line, not a skinny line. And I'm going to come down here. Just going, I use the big end of my multitasker brush. It's good. I'm going into Nova, the illuminator. So I've got Renaissance and I've got Nova. And it is just, I think Nova is actually more hydrating. It almost feels like a good hydrating lip gloss. It's like the consistency of, what's my favorite one? Beauty Counter. This is my favorite lipstick. Like I've gone through tubes of this stuff. Beauty Counter, and this is Petal. It's so pretty, but the consistency reminds me of Nova. And so I got Nova and Renaissance on, and I think it looks good. I like it. And we're just doing what I like right now, okay? All right, let's get into baking. Now, if you like that very heavy matte baking, get yourself loose. If you want just that really nice finish, but you don't want a heavy powder, we got vanilla dust and we can bake with it. So I'm taking my triangle here and we're going to pile it on. Okay, we're going to pile this on. Baking is meant to handle everything. This is just killing me here. All right, so I'm going to start out here and I'm going to press this under my eye, just like that. That's baking. We're going to hit under the contour here, like that. I feel that this is not as heavy as loose powder. All right, so we're grabbing some more and I'm going to go right over here, over the brow. All right, and we're going to let that sit. That's what baking is. We just let this sit, and people just like the way that this chisels up the cheek. So there we are. If you like a loose powder and you want a very matte finish, it's really going to look quite a bit of the same of what I just did. If that doesn't tell you what I'm about to do. So I'm going to take my powder. I'm going to press it onto the poof. I said powder while I held the poof up, but you get what I mean. All right. I did tap it onto the lid and it's nice and on there. All right. Nice and on there. And I'm going to do the same thing. We're pressing that in and up into the corner. This is heavy and this transfers very easily, especially over a cream. So where you set it is where it's going to be. Grabbing it again, and we're going to go up the cheek. I'm doing it the same on each side. It's just heavier. Do you see how this is more fine? It's well pressed. I like this, but I don't like baking. And this is very much heavy. But I'm going to press this here. This is killing me, guys. It's killing me. But this is matte control. And it's not something I typically do. So you're going to press that into the areas where you like it. Boom. There we go. I'm nice and baked. But keep in mind, powder is always going to change the consistency. So this is makeup, not magic. And I'm going to talk a little while this bakes. All baking is doing is soaking up the moisture in your makeup. In your skin, that's what baking is doing. So all the moisture in my makeup is going right into my powder. And that's what gives you that chalky finish, that dry look, and sometimes that dry feel. But putting on a cream makeup is going to reduce the amount of moisture that it's absorbing. Does that make sense? This is just what I think. I don't think I'm always right, and I may be wrong on this, and we'll see. But if you have a less makeup on your face, there's less to absorb. And so this is going to definitely accentuate my fine lines under my eyes, but I'm going to show my little tricky poo on how to reduce that. So it's baked enough. I think. You just need to let it sit for a good amount of time. I'm going to do this side first because that's what's been sitting there the longest. We're going to take a nice fluffy brush, and I'm just going to lightly sweep this off. Okay? It's going to be hard to see the texture that I talk about, so you're going to have to take my word for it. I don't lie. I've never lied to you guys, and I'm not going to start today. I'm going to tell you I'm not going to like this look. But I'm able to compare the two. So I'm just going to take this. It's honestly, genuinely a matter of preference of what you like for your makeup. So I'm just patting off the excess powder. That's all you're doing when you take this brush. You're not blending it in. You're sweeping off the excess. Okay? And this is the finish that I'm getting. And I don't know, it takes a little bit of the life out of your makeup. That's my opinion on the look I get. Now, if this is, it's so hard for me to give a opinion on something where I know the outcome isn't my use or my preference. And so this is just going to give, I don't want to say it takes the life out of your skin because I know people who like a matte finish. Don't think so. But this definitely takes the dewiness. The dewiness is gone. That skin-like look, it's gone. And so we've put that on, and now it's nice and matte. There's no sheen, and that's what people like. So over here, where I did the loose powder, it's the same thing. I'm just lightly fluffing this off, and it's just taking off the excess. Okay? We're just taking off the excess, and using a fluffy brush helps take off the excess without taking off the makeup. If I used a side like this where it's more dense, it could pick up makeup. And so now I'm just going to very lightly sweep off the excess. We're just sweeping our face. And we're just going to go up and around, and it's gone. But I do feel that it accentuates the fine lines. I wish I could zoom in, and maybe I will. Here, I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to use the magic of video editing, and I'm going to zoom in, and I want to smile, and I want you to see this end product and all that it does with my skin. Da, 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 da. Now I'm going to take my setting spray. I think I would do Charlotte Tilbury on something like this, but that's my preference because I do like that bit of a dewy look. But really, all I'm trying to, let's switch. Let's just switch, Amanda. Switch. Stop trying to do things the way you want them done, and stop. I'm going to switch to this just because I want to try different products with it. So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to keep the powder, keep the matte form. So you're going to want to stick to something that's not Seint, because Seint will add dewiness. It's just the way that it is. I don't know why, it just does. So we're going to take this and we're going to spray our face lightly. We're not going to douse our face. We're just going to give it, I'm holding this far. My face is not wet. It has a fine mist on it. I'm going to take that same brush and I'm going to press in. I'm pressing in the setting spray, and I'm focusing it where I put the powder, which is pretty much everywhere. And it takes away some of the texture. Some. So if you have large pores, I wouldn't bake. I would try the method before where we just put a little bit on, starting on the perimeter, and worked our way. And if you have large pores, if you have wrinkles, fine lines, I would do the method where you spray it, bring it out, and bring it in, and spray it again to get a look that's not going to accentuate your pores and the texture, because powder is going to accentuate the texture. So this is how it looks after I've done the setting spray, and it's a nice look. And if you're wanting it to have that shimmery look, you're gonna have to go grab a shimmer and add it. And that's what people like, and that's fine. I just don't want to increase textured makeup and have that thick and heavy makeup. So this is how you have matte control. It's all about the starting of doing it, less is more, but it's also about how you're going to apply it at the end. But I think working with setting spray with your powder helps with the texture. And that's what I would recommend doing. And so that's how I say matte control. This, you can use the same palette and get so many different looks of matteness. That's a word, right? But that's what I would recommend. So that's it. That's my face. I'm going to put a picture of me with my makeup on, with my mascara, my brows, and all the things. But here's the deal. It doesn't matter the makeup you're using. It's how you're applying it and how you're using it at the end. Don't put on so much cream and just worry about it at the end. And if you need to add more or blend down, you can. But build to where you're happy, but really just focus on the method you're using your powders and what kind of powders, loose or pressed, and the setting sprays. You're not going to want a dewy setting spray if you're going for a matte look. So that's it. message me and let's get a palette for you, and have a great day.